Hi, today I wanted to talk about some authors that I would like to read more from. So, for example, I'm not going to talk about authors that, I read their debut novel and I enjoyed it and I would like to read more of them if they publish anything. I'm going to talk about more established authors that have some more books out, and the first author I'd like to talk about is Emily St. John Mandel. I have read Station 11 by her, which is probably my favorite book of all time, definitely my favorite book of 2017. This book, if you don't know, is about a post-apocalyptic world where a deadly virus killed, I want to say, 95% of the population. And this kind of switches between timelines and different characters. So we see them before the apocalypse and 15 years after. Obviously, the apocalypse itself is mentioned, but the 15 years between are just briefly mentioned, really. So we really focus on the aftermath, which I really loved. This is quite a slow-paced book, which I really loved, and the writing is amazing. This is a book that I would like to write. Just not only the writing, just the storytelling, the message that this book gives, it's absolutely stunning. If you haven't read Station 11, you absolutely should. I believe she has 3 more books out. I believe I can get them all in this edition, and that's Lola's Quartet, A Singer's Gun, and Last Night in Montreal. So the second I get my hands on them, I'm gonna read them. The next book I have is, the next book / author is Jonathan Safran Foer, and that's extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. If you haven't read the book, you probably at least seen the movie. Even if you've seen the movie, I would definitely recommend this. It's a story about a 9-year-old boy whose father died in 9/11, and he finds a key that he thinks his father left him to, leave him a message. So he tries to solve this riddle and goes on this big journey. This is set in New York, and it's really amazing. I actually wasn't enjoying it at first because the narrative of the boy is very peculiar, and I thought I really would hate it, but then I realized something about the boy and I was like, okay, that actually makes sense, and my enjoyment of the book definitely increased. So the books that I would like to read are Here I Am and Everything is Illuminated, and also maybe Eating Animals. I'm not sure if he has anything else out, let me know if there's anything worth reading. But yeah, I'm very excited to read more of this author. The next author I'm going to mention quite briefly because I've talked about her a few times on my channel, and that's Clearing Earth. I have read First 15 Lives of Harry August, which is about Harry August who relives his life over and over again, and during one of his lives, I'm not sure which one, he's dying and a young girl visits him and tells him the world is going to end and he needs to prevent it, basically. So I also have Touch, and aside from that I would also like to read Sudden Disappearance of Hope. Wait, is it? The Sudden Disappearance of Hope. Hold on. Okay, it isn't. It's Sudden Appearance of Hope. Yes, okay, that makes more sense because basically the premise of this book is that it's about this girl and people forget her the second they kind of stop talking to her. So basically all of her books have a really amazing premise, and I quite enjoy her writing style, so I would love to get to more of her books. Maybe let's go with some classics now. So the next author is Charlotte Bronte, and I have read Jane Eyre 2 years ago? No, it was last year. This was, first of all, very well written, but also I was quite surprised because even though I didn't like how it ended. Not really how it ended, but I didn't like who Jane Eyre ended up with at the end of the story, but it still didn't decrease my enjoyment of the story, if that makes sense. Just Jane Eyre was such an amazing heroine, and she could just stand on her own, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think the romance in this book was the main part of the plot. So this was really amazing, and Jane Eyre is probably my favorite heroines of all time. So I have here Villette, and also would like to read Shirley and the Professor, maybe? But yeah, this is what I'm going to start with. No clue what it's about, but I'm very excited. And the next author is Margaret Atwood, and I have read The Handmaid's Tale. This is actually the only author where I'm not sure what book I should read next. This is, if you don't know, this is about a dystopian society where fertility rates significantly decreased, so there are not many women who are able to give birth to a child. So that changes a lot in the structure of the society. This is amazing. Obviously, I'm also watching the TV show right now. And yeah, this is the author where I'm not sure what book I should read next, because she has so many books out. I was thinking about maybe Cat's Eye. I have watched Alias Grey because I didn't know it was based on Margaret Atwood's book. And every time I watch a movie or a TV series, I kind of lose interest in the book. So that's something I'm not going to read, but if you have any recommendations, that will be much appreciated. Next author, I feel like I don't need to introduce to you, but that's Donna Tartt, and I've read Secret History. I feel like everyone knows what the Secret History is about, but it's about a group of students. They study Greek or Greek literature. Not sure what it was, but it's quite a small group of students, I think 5 or 6 people, because each year the professor only teaches a very small group of students, and they're like, carefully selected. So the narrative of the story is really interesting, because on the first page we find out that one of the friends is dead, and he was killed by that group of friends. So we kind of find out who died, who killed him, and how they did it. So throughout the story we just kind of try to figure out why, like what kind of circumstances have to occur for like people who are friends, for people to kill their friend. So that was absolutely fascinating. There's also, she only has 3 books out, so other than that there's A Little Friend and The Goldfinch. They're both gigantic, so it will take me quite a lot of time to read them, but yeah. And the last author, is it? Yes, and the last author is Virginia Woolf. I have read actually the most books out of this list. I have read The Waves, I have read Mrs. Dalloway, and I have read 2 essays, A Room of One's Own and 3 Guineas. Not sure how to pronounce that, but I have to say I like her essays more than her fiction. I feel like I just don't understand her fiction, I'm just not intelligent enough to do that. But she has so many books. I think I would like to read, I have The Waves, but I've heard that's her most experimental novel, so I feel like I'm not ready for this yet. So I'd like to read maybe Orlando next. She also published, I know, Jacob's Room, The Years, something else, so many books. But yeah, also definitely I would like to read more of her non-fiction. I have to say, I read A Room of One's Own, and it was good. I mean, I like the ideas that were in this essay, but I felt like it was repetitive, and she kind of lost me a few times. Like, she was drifting away so many times from the main kind of point that she was making, that I was a little bit bored at times, and then I read Three Guineas, and that's so much better than A Room of One's Own, in my opinion. So if you have read A Room of One's Own and enjoyed it at any level, I would definitely recommend you Three Guineas. The basic premise of this essay is Virginia Woolf receives a letter from a man. It was just before the Second World War, and he asks her basically what they can do to prevent the war. And she just goes off. First of all, I think she starts the letter with like, sorry, I haven't replied to you in 2 years. And then she goes off. It's amazing. I feel like it's a lot better structured, in my opinion, than A Room of One's Own, and I feel like she, I don't know, portrays her ideas in a lot more comprehensive way. The title of the book also has a lot to do with the structure of the book. I'm not gonna tell you how exactly, but you should absolutely read it. It's, up to this point, it's my favorite book slash essay slash thing they have read this year. So I think that's everything, actually. So yeah, that's everything. If you have any recommendations when it comes to Virginia Woolf's books, that would be great. Please tell me in the comments, and see you next video. Bye!